Hi guys, and welcome to today's podcast. We have Olivia with Skinology Aesthetics on Instagram. She came all the way from New Jersey.
New Jersey.
So exciting.
I was so happy to leave the cold and come into the warm air.
Hot. Oh my gosh, Arizona's, beautiful weather right now though,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I want to hear how long you've been an esthetician and hear a little bit about you.
So I feel like with aesthetics, I'm still in the infancy. I'm still a baby. I've only been in the field for 3 years now.
Okay.
So
you look like you've been in it for like 10.
Thank you. I know a lot of people always say that. They're like, you're so knowledgeable. You're doing so many different things. How are you in this for only 3 years? Mm-hmm. And honestly, I feel like it's all about there's opportunity everywhere. You just have to go find it and you have to get it, basically. So, but funny enough, I was actually doing lasers for a year before I was even an esthetician.
Wow.
So little backstory on like me, where I came from, what I did. So I actually was a high school chemistry teacher for 5 years. So I taught basically all the sciences. So it was like chemistry, oceanography, earth science, geology, which is why I absolutely love the desert, because I'm like, I miss rocks. But, and then, so yeah, I always struggled with my own skin. I had terrible acne. Once I was able to cure the acne or treat the acne, I basically had acne scars, and they were pretty bad. So I always say, like, there's no such thing as perfect skin, because some people are like, your skin's great, and I'm like, I still see my scars. I was like, I swear I have like skin dysmorphia, which I feel like is a real thing.
I think everybody has that a little bit.
True. And it wasn't until I actually started doing a bunch of SkinPen microneedling sessions on my face. So I actually went to a med spa in California, was doing the whole treatments. I think I did about 6 to 9 of them. And my before and afters were like insane. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that like this is a thing, you know? And it just completely changed my life, my confidence, how I like looked at myself. I didn't feel like ashamed to leave the house anymore. I wasn't so self-conscious about my skin. And it kind of just opened up this whole like doorway of like, you know what? I can combine my passion of helping people, which is why I got into teaching, my passion of science, another thing with teaching, and then also too, my hobby of skincare kind of all in one. So that's why I decided to just take that leap of faith and switch careers.
Wow.
So I left teaching in 2021. And then I actually had a little pit stop. I was here in Scottsdale for a month, and I went to National Laser Institute.
Okay.
So I did that whole training and all that. And then I had a year in Tennessee. So basically I was working in a med spa all day, just lasering people. It was mostly like hair removal and stuff like that. And then at nighttime, I went to esthetician school. Okay. So I was working all day, school at night. And then, and then as soon as I got my esthetician license, I was like, you know what? I love Tennessee, don't get me wrong, but my family wasn't there, you know? So I had my family in Jersey. So I decided, let me go back to Jersey. Yeah. And so I basically started at a dermatology office, and I worked there for a year. And I was actually really grateful for that experience, because I was not only the esthetician, but I was also a medical assistant.
Yeah. Wow.
So I was in the room with his clients. I basically was prescribing, you know, all the different medications of whatever they needed, but it just gave me a really awesome, like, firsthand look at skin and skin conditions that you don't actually learn in school.
Yeah.
Because as you know, like, school is just like, all right, read this textbook, take a, like, okay, you're done.
You're
like, here you
take
go.
the test for state board, right?
Basically, yeah. So they're teaching to the test, which we know that that's not real life and that's not reality, which I feel like continuing education and just doing things on your own is also so important. And that's
Definitely.
like where my heart's at, is like, I absolutely love education, just because I came from education.
You're like a scientist in a new way now. You're like a new scientist. Being an esthetician, I feel like we're scientists.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Mixing ingredients.
Totally. And I think it's very underlooked or overlooked. I don't know, but I just feel like so many people are like, I want to be an esthetician. And then it's like, you have zero knowledge of like the science behind it, the histology of skin, how certain things can interact, or what to do, what not to do. And not only that, because you could read that in a book, you can get that, but I feel like it's more of like the scientific method and the deductive reasoning of like, let's try this product. Okay, this is not working. Let's bring this out. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not one of those estheticians that like I will just immediately put someone on a 10-step skincare routine. Yeah. I like to slowly introduce one product at a time, because I want to know for sure what's working and what's not. Yeah. If they're having a reaction to it and what's not.
No, I completely agree. I think when you mix too much active ingredients at once, it can get super, number one, overwhelming for the client. And number two, you don't know where the cause of the reaction is coming from what product. I'm the same way. Now I am like a 6 to 10 step girly, like in my routine, but for clients for sure. Like I'm the same way approach. And I know some people like to do 10-step regimens, but like I completely agree. I agree with just starting people slow and making sure that they are introduced to one product at a time.
Exactly.
So what lines did you start with? Like what lines did you use when you started your journey?
So I think it was, I want to say maybe it was ZO in the beginning, like at the med spa that I went to when I was doing the microneedling. I think it was some of that. I can't remember some of the other things, but yeah, I know I started off with that. And then in the dermatology, the place in Tennessee that I was doing the lasers, it was SkinCeuticals and Skin Better. Okay. And Elastin. Okay. So that was when I like dipped my feet into like those products and I was like, oh, I am in love.
What's your favorite line out of those three, would you say?
I mean, my heart's with SkinCeuticals. Yeah. So I absolutely love SkinCeuticals just because of like the science behind the products and all that. And they were the ones that really put science-backed skincare on the map. Like they were the ones who started it all. Each product basically goes about 2 to 3 years of clinical testing before it's even put on the market. Okay. So that like I appreciate. And again, coming from like a science background, that's what I'm all about. Second to that, obviously, Skin Better. And so I'm obsessed with the Trio. Trio is like my favorite. Good. Yeah.
Can't live without Trio.
No, I know. And it's funny. I have my little travel size one that I brought with me. And just this morning I was
oh no!
I was like, no, out of it.
That's the worst feeling when you run out of your
exactly. It's
product.
Like the RIP to my favorite skincare.
I know. It's awful. And how much longer do you have here in Arizona?
Until Wednesday. Oh my
gosh!
Morning.
What are you gonna do without your Trio?
I know. So I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, so that's where I got into those lines. Okay. And then when I was working in the derm, they were basically a flagship for SkinCeuticals. Okay. So then I started to dive in more to not only just the products, but then also the back bar, their peels and things like that. So wow. Yeah.
So you came from a derm background then. So you're working for derms. What are your thoughts on dermatologist approach to skin? So like, how did that work with you being an esthetician at a dermatologist's office?
It actually worked really well because I feel like not all derms are alike. Some of them are just like really old school. And then others are a little bit more like welcoming to the medical grade skincare and all of that, which is cool. Cause you'll see some dermatologists that they're like, just use the basic, just use your CeraVe, your Cetaphil. And then what I'm prescribing you is going to be doing the heavy lifting. And that's basically why they're always backed by those lines. Yeah. Whereas with, some other derms, they're like, yes, while whatever I'm prescribing you will, do the heavy lifting, but why not add an extra? Like, why not like help repair your barrier as you're using this tretinoin and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I love Triple Lipid from SkinCeuticals, because it is a moisturizer that was specifically designed to help combat the side effects of a prescription tretinoin. Okay. So I feel like that's also why so many like derms are just in love with SkinCeuticals, because they do a lot like together. So it's like the prescription product will be paired with the over-the-counter like medical grade product.
Definitely. So for SkinCeuticals, because I know that's not I feel like it's not super popular in the solo esthetician world. So do you think that somebody like going solo, like who would you recommend that line to if you are working with derms with that line? Do you think that somebody can use it as a solo esthetician like by itself? Like that line?
Totally. Yes. 100%. Because they have an amazing back bar. They also have great peels and stuff too. Okay. So some of my favorite peels though are the Face Reality peels. I remember we kind of talked about that once before, but so good. SkinCeuticals has some very similar peels to that as well. Okay. So if someone can't carry too many different lines, SkinCeuticals kind of has it all in that regard. So you have the back bar, you have the peels, they have, like a microexfoliating polish. Like there's a lot that you can do. They also have their own dermaplane blades. Okay. Yeah.
Wow. So, that's super interesting.
Yes.
I'll have to check those out.
So I love them so much. They have like a special polymer coating and all that, because I'm very particular with my blades. I know that so many people are like, I use my tinkle razor, or I'll just buy, a scalpel on Amazon and just use that. And I'm like, a scalpel is different than a dermaplane blade. Oh yeah. A scalpel is used to just make one little tiny 1-inch incision and be immediately disposed of, whereas a dermaplane blade, it's to exfoliate your whole entire face. Oh yeah. So then it's like, then you have people that do it and then they completely disrupt their barrier, they cut themselves, they do this stuff. So it's like, just leave it to the professionals.
I know. Please, for the sake of your skin, leave it to the professionals.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know that you do a lot of like educational content on Instagram about that. Speaking of that, your page has blown up, I feel, within the last
year. I think.
Year. are. It's been cool to watch you grow. I love it.
Thank you.
So what has been like the biggest success on Instagram for you with your educational content? What was the first post that went viral for you?
The first one was, believe it or not, so I was always thinking in my head, I was like, you know what, we always see posts of like, or reels of whether it's like, you know, my skincare line or this, but like you don't actually see posts of like, what does this skin look like in the treatment room? Like, what if someone is dehydrated? What does that look like? Because we always talk about it, you read it in the textbook, but in real life, like unless if you're in the treatment room and you don't actually get that firsthand experience, what does that look like? It's a magical unicorn. I've never seen it before. So it's like, I try to bring that of the skin conditions that we do see in the treatment room to Instagram. So then that way everyone at home, everyone at home can see it. And my kind of way of going about it is like, I'm trying to teach my viewers and even my own clients to be SkinCeuticals, how to read your own skin.
Yeah.
And not only that, being able to identify what your skins currently go through, but then what products to use for that. So if you're dehydrated, what you should be using. I am very sensitive. I have rosacea, so my skin flares up all the time. So I'm totally vulnerable, and I post myself with absolutely no makeup with a full rosacea flare up. And it's like, look, this is skin. Like our skin's constantly changing. It could look amazing one day. And then the next day, like, you know, and then unfortunately, then you'll have a client that like started using a product right when that happened. And then they're going to blame it on the product rather than it being something more internal. So I just like to be super transparent and just kind of show like what real skin is, what it looks like, what can you do about it. And so I feel like that's what kind of made a lot of more of like the views and the shares, because then people like other estheticians would then post it on their stories and be like, if your skin looks like this, come see me for a facial. So I feel like it's
genius.
A lot of the sharing, the interacting rather than just the views. And I'm sure, as you know, because all of your content is shared. I share your content all the time. I'm like, this is amazing.
Thank you.
I'm like, look at this is what a HydroFacial looks like. I didn't have a chance to film it in the treatment room, but I use your footage and it's so great.
Thank you. I think that's such a good point though, because the average consumer, and I think that a lot of us make content and it does get shared to other estheticians, you know, in the field. But for somebody, a potential client going to your page, they don't know what dehydrated skin looks like you said. They don't know what to kind of expect with their skin. So I love that you bring so much education to Instagram, because I think that, I mean, people just want to know. They want to be educated at the end of the day. Yeah. That's what I feel
like too, because there's so much misinformation out there. Like, not to talk bad on TikTok or anything like that, but there's so many skinfluencers that maybe they know something about skin, but they haven't been through the rigorous training and the certifications and all that stuff that we have. And we're dealing with skin every single day in the treatment room. So it's like we have so much more experience.
Definitely.
And so I try to be, again, more transparent as to like the truth on things. And don't get me wrong, there'll be something that I'll post and then maybe a year later I'll be like, actually I changed my mind on that from what I've seen, and I'm willing to admit that, and I'm willing to, like, you know, update my new findings on what works best and things like that.
And that's totally valid. I mean, I've brought on some, you know, products or even lines, and I don't resonate with them anymore. I don't think that I found something better or maybe I just don't believe in it anymore. Like, that's okay to have like different opinions and try new things for sure. Now for you, I feel like you do such a good job for like educational content. If somebody, like, how do you film? How do you personally film in the treatment room?
So in the treatment room, I kind of wish I had more of like a legit setup. Like, I feel like some people are like, you must have this and this and that. And I'm like, no, I literally just like, I have just my mag lamp on and then I just take my iPhone and I just like, that's all I do. And I feel like that's where a lot of other estheticians maybe feel a little bit intimidated, because they do think that everything needs to be like a studio setup. And it's like, it doesn't have to be all the time. Like, just film. Because sometimes like that raw candid shots that like they would have on their own iPhone, like camera roll, kind of can resonate with them too. So I feel like it's good to have a little bit of both. So when it comes to like in the actual treatment room, I just use my iPhone. I just try the best that I can. And then when it comes to more of like the educational posts, when I have like my microphone and all that, I have my little lights in the back. I literally am just at my computer. I have one kind of light similar to this, like the box light. And then I have my Philips Hue in the back, and that's kind of giving like the color. And then, and I'm just filming from my iPhone, and I have an old, it's a 12 one. So it's like not even a new updated one. So yeah, I just feel like it's You don't have to have all of the equipment, all the setup, the best lighting. Honestly, if you just have the passion and the idea and the drive to just do it,
Yeah.
You know, like if someone, cause I used to be like that too. I'm like, I don't want to post this cause it's not perfect. I don't want to do like, oh, I'm trying to film it. And then I would get like too overwhelmed and then I just won't do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have to just remove that pressure that like people are putting on themselves to be perfect and just do it. And it's
You're
like, yeah,
so right.
like sometimes you'll have those days where you do have the extra time, you do have the motivation. And so I'll film like, you know, I don't know, like 5 different videos.
Yeah.
And then I'll just spend the next couple days whenever I have the chance just to edit and post. And they think that like I do that every day. It's like, no, I just like batch film a bunch of content. And then, you know, and then every once in a while when you're like doing something and you have like that moment that you're like, oh, this would be great content. I'm going to film it now. You know, so it's just.
That's such a good point. I mean, people think that you have to record like every single thing in the treatment room. Like batching content is where it's at. And I noticed you put a lot of your description in the caption, which I love because that keeps people on the post longer, which makes it more shareable and you get to get yourself out there even more. No, I think that's great. So next thing I want to talk about is you go to the HydroFacial headquarters in New York, right? I want to hear a little bit about that and what that experience is like and how you got into it.
So it's really cool. So it's the HFX Center on Fifth Ave in Manhattan. And I first went there as just like a trainee. Like I was just like, I want to know more about HydroFacial. How am I able to kind of master my craft and give the best facial with this device and really understand the serums better, the ingredients, the boosters, because it can be a lot. And I feel like some estheticians, if they're new to HydroFacial, they might feel a little bit overwhelmed. They're like, oh, there's like 20 different boosters. How do I know which one to choose and all that?
So true.
So I went as, you know, just part of the training and I loved it. I love the vibe. I love the community. I'm like all about community. I'm all about, again, education. And so, and I talked with Lisa Marie. She's like the main educator director. And I was like, you know what? Like, I think this is awesome. I love what you guys are doing here. If you ever need help in any way, I used to be in education. Like, I'm always here. And like, I left my email and stuff like that. And then lo and behold, she was like, actually, we could use you.
Amazing.
So it was kind of one of those things where, again, opportunity is everywhere. You just have to put yourself out there and like kind of put your best foot forward and you'll be surprised what doors open when you are allowing yourself to receive, you know? So basically what I do, I'm kind of like the in-house esthetician there. So every once in a while, it depends, whatever they need. Sometimes we'll have like influencers or magazine editors come to, you know, the HFX Center, and then I would do the treatment and then kind of just educate them on it.
Yeah.
What are the steps? What are the ingredients? Why do we need this? Why this is like the best facial in, you know, 30 minutes. And so that's always fun. And then I've also done some clinical studies too for them. So they do have the new booster, the HydroLock booster. So there are the 3 different hyaluronic acids in there. And so I was the one that did the facials. And then basically at the end or before and after the facial, we used, I forgot the name of it off of the top of my head. It was like a hydrometer or something like that. But basically what it did is it was able to read the hydration levels in your skin. And so when you see on the box and it's like 200% increase in hydration, like that's an actual.
You were part of that?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I know. It is so cool. I was like, I'm actually doing science.
You like put that on your bio.
So it's fun to do that. And then also too, there was one where we collected a whole bunch of, like gunky jar solution and we sent it off to a lab for them to do testing to see what pollutants are actually in it. So again, we know that like, yes, our skin's a sponge and it's absorbing a lot.
Yeah.
What kind of pollutants are in the air that are actually getting onto our skin if we're not using a vitamin C to help neutralize those free radicals. So basically, since the suction device is pulling all of the debris out from the pores, I always say it's like a power wash for your skin So basically it's pulling all that out and what's actually in there. And believe it or not, there are a lot of pollutants. There's, you know, obviously the car exhaust, there's diesel, there's ozone, all that kind of stuff. So it's just crazy. It's not just cleaning out your pores. It's really doing like a deep detox of your pores. So
I love
jaw
HydroLock. No, you're fine. That's like a wow moment, right? Jaw popped. No, I think that's so cool to be a part of that. And HydroLock is actually one of my new favorite boosters. I know that they just released that, you know, a few months ago. What are your favorite boosters from HydroFacial?
Oh, I do love the HydroLock. I feel like that was one that kind of grew on me because I felt like it's so almost like watery. I'm like, how is this really? But then when you see the after and you see like the clinical studies, I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing's actually amazing. I also too love the Brightenol. I feel like that's one that I absolutely love, just because I feel like so many of our clients, and I'm sure you see it a lot too here in Arizona with all the sun damage and things like that. So I love a good like vitamin C, alpha arbutin booster, and it just gives such a great glow. Absolutely. Another one of my other favorites that I feel like not many people talk about is the Nassif.
Yes.
The hydroglucan one. Oh my gosh, that's like honey for your skin.
I know.
And it leaves such a plump, glowy. Yeah. And speaking of, I actually worked with him at the HydroFacial Center.
That is so cool. So you met Dr. Nassif?
Yeah.
That's
so I met him. We did a treatment
so much opportunity.
on him.
That's so cool.
I know. Yeah. And he was so nice. He was so chill. Like, because sometimes as a doctor, you get a little bit intimidated. You're like, oh my gosh. But he was like, yeah, do whatever you guys want. You guys are great. This and that. I was like, that's so cool. I was like, can I film you?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, just don't make me look stupid.
Wait, that's hilarious, because I remember I worked at a med spa and that was like my go-to booster forever. And I posted it and Dr. Nassif like reposted. And I thought that was like my fame moment. Like I'll never forget that. And I remember the HydroFacial rep like sent it to me, screenshotted it. I was like,
so great.
Now I look back, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, they just reposted. It probably wasn't even him.
They probably have like social media manager, but something like that just happened to me recently, and I had my same moment. So I had a before and after, and HydroFacial actually posted those before and afters on their page.
So fun.
It was like 2 different ones, because you just see like the completely dehydrated skin to the plump and glowy skin, and you don't get a glow like that with any other device out there. You know, like
I agree.
Yeah. So I'm obsessed with HydroFacial, obsessed with SkinCeuticals. Like those are my go-to. And then also too obsessed with SkinPen. So I feel like those are my 3, like that's what I niche in.
Yeah.
So HydroFacial, that's kind of where I'm at. And it's, and not to like toot my own horn, but I've had, because obviously, you know, as estheticians, we move around and stuff like that. Yeah. And I've had a client that I was seeing and I was doing their treatment, the HydroFacial, and then I left. And then it was like months later, like maybe a year later. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank goodness I found you.
They were hunting you down.
Yes, they were hunting me. They were like, I went someplace else and it just wasn't the same. Like whatever you're doing, like your HydroFacial is different. I'm like, I'm doing the same things. I'm doing the same protocols.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like that's the importance of education and really doing the trainings and stuff like that on it, because I personally have seen so many other estheticians do a HydroFacial differently.
Yes.
And I'm like, internally, I'm like,
I know.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to say it, but do I? So I always say like, just go to, you know, do the trainings, do that, because I'm telling you, there is a difference when you do the treatment the right way by the protocol versus, you know,
slapping the serum and it's dripping down their ear.
I know. I'm like, it's not the Wild West. There's a protocol for a reason, you know? So
no, I completely agree. I have clients all the time that say they got HydroFacials other places and it wasn't the same, or even they market it as a HydroFacial, but it was actually a different form of
that's like my pet peeve.
I know. And so, and not to like shame anybody, but like that's why I believe there is a difference in HydroFacial.
Yes.
Like you can feel like their solutions, the technology, and it's not a new thing. They've been around for 20 plus years. It's not
so they know what they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not newbies. I want to touch on boosters really quickly, because one of my favorites is the Protect Plus. Have you ever tried the Circadia?
Yes, I have.
I know you say you struggle with like rosacea.
Yes, I've used that one for my rosacea, and I swear the next day I had like the most perfect glass skin that I've never had before. And it just, the antioxidants in there, because another thing with rosacea is like you have to be very careful with vitamin C.
Oh yes.
I know a lot of people say like use vitamin C, it's gonna help, but honestly, like my rosacea was the worst when I was using vitamin C, because it's literally like, think about it, like if you ever have a cut, you put like lemon on it, it burns, it stings. So sometimes you need to kind of take a step back, stop temporarily stop using that product, let your barrier heal, then you can slowly start incorporating.
And vitamin C has to be for like the perfect client. Like you can't just give anybody vitamin C. That is such like a
I know. Same thing with retinol.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and everyone's like, that's the 3 things that you need. You need vitamin C, retinol, and sunscreen. And trust me, I preach that too.
Yes.
But you have to get there. Baby steps.
Be educated on it, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do to make the experience different for your clients? Like what sets you apart? What is like your little special magic touch with your HydroFacials?
I feel like it's, well, obviously like doing it by the protocol, obviously for sure, but it's also too educating the client as to like what I'm doing in each step.
Yeah.
Because I feel like knowledge is power. if I went into a treatment and I basically was just silent the whole time, and now granted, yes, there are times where you just want a relaxing facial.
Oh, yeah.
You want to unwind, you have, a crazy day with the kids or work or whatever, and you just want to like unplug. But then there's other times, like if I'm doing something more in like the medical side, I want to know like what's going on with my skin. Like, what are you doing right now? What's this? Why do I need this? Because I always feel like if you tell someone why you need it or why it's good for your skin, they're going to be that much more invested in it because they have that knowledge, and knowledge is power. And then when they, again, with that knowledge, they're more willing to follow through and do more of those treatments, or even when it comes to using those products at home, they understand the benefit that it's giving their skin and why they need that for their skin. So again, they're just going to be able to use it and not just like, oh, well, this person told me to use it. I don't know. But like, they become more invested in it. And the more invested you are through that knowledge. So that's why I feel like education is key.
Oh, yeah.
So my little, I guess, tidbit is, during my HydroFacial treatments, and you could kind of gauge the room, whether someone's more talkative or not or whatever. But I do like to do that. I kind of like to be like, all right, so this, I'm using the Glycol Prep. Glycol stands for glycolic and salicylic. And so what we're doing, the glycolic helps to exfoliate the top dead layer of skin. Salicylic's going to penetrate deeper, help dissolve the stuff like that. And they're like, I didn't know that. I always heard of salicylic. I hear people on TikTok always talk about glycol, but they don't know what it does. So
exactly. That's amazing. I think it's all about the way that you communicate with your clients and you educating them. I mean, in reading people, I think that's a skill that takes some time for some. I think I just had a client the other day, and she was so timid, so shy, so quiet. But the moment that I communicated with her and like opened up that door and was being assertive, I think you have to be assertive a little bit as an esthetician, and just make sure that they know what they're getting into, what you're doing on their skin. And I mean, that's what
because they're paying money for it. So it's like, I want to know, what you're getting out of this experience,
Definitely.
So I think, and they value that, because I feel like I've had so many clients that are like, that was the most educational facial I've ever had. Like literally they say that when they're like, that was amazing. I learned so much. I was like, I'm an open book. Ask me anything, pick my brain. I'm here to give you
background. So you're like, I feel like that's probably second nature for you to be like,
I think so.
I want to educate, teach, and let my clients know what's going on.
Yeah. And I like using a lot of like analogies, because I feel like sometimes you use the big words or scientific words and they're like, what? And then as soon as you start using analogies, they're, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Like I always like saying, like with dry skin, you need to exfoliate first, because it's like having a painted wall and that paint is starting to crack and crumble. You need to exfoliate and polish it before you slather on a new layer of paint. And they're like, oh, I get that. Like,
I love that. It's all about the analogies. That's so fun.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I want to hear, like, I know that you're a SkinCeuticals. What is your role in that part?
So basically they have a program, it's called Mastering SkinCeuticals, and say if you're working at a practice that carries the line, you could basically be a part of the program. So they have 3 different levels. The first one's the ambassador level. So basically anyone in the practice can be a part of that program. It's like an online training module where basically it gives you more information about each product. And it kind of talks about the ingredients and all that. So when I first started working at the med spa in Tennessee, the SkinCeuticals rep, she was like, oh, like you're from education, you would love this. So I was like, I ran with it. I was like, free education, like that's hard to come by. You know what I mean? So I did it, absolutely loved it. And then there's the professional level and then the master level. So from all of the ambassadors, they pick 30 professionals. And then from there, it's a little bit more like hands-on and in-depth. So I learned like their dermaplane protocol. So I was able to be like double certified in dermaplane, because I did that in like, in schooling, and then also through them. And then they have like their chemical peel protocols, and you do more like hands-on, but then it's also to more like community building and also like self-confidence building, which I feel like is huge for estheticians. Because if you're not confident in the treatment room, what am I doing? Like that client's not going to come back, because they're like, this person doesn't even know what they're doing. Like, I don't know if I trust them, you know? So that was huge. And then out of those 30, then they pick 10 masters for each year. So this past year of 2024, I was lucky enough to be one of those. And that was really cool.
Incredible.
So they flew everyone out to New York City. I had to do a whole presentation in front of, all the other estheticians and practice leaders and all that kind of stuff. So it was cool, because it's really like, not only are you networking and having this community of like support and all that, but you're also really learning how to be a better esthetician. And that was a little bit more in depth with like skin histology, and not only that, but like there was other modules where we get to learn like fierce conversations. Like, how do you actually like talk to people like in your practice? Like say there's something maybe unethical going on or something like that. Like how do you bring that conversation up and be, you know, obviously coming from a good place, but it was just really such a great experience. And I had so much fun. And then even to this day, like that's why I'm here this weekend. It was a girls, you know, getaway trip. Some of our masters from all the other years, we got together and, you know, we just have fun. So it's a really cool, like support group that I feel like we don't really see much of in the industry. And I'm all about like women supporting women and, you know, just, it doesn't have to be super competitive. It doesn't have to be catty. Like we're all here to support each other, to help one another. And I feel like there's room for everyone in the field. Everyone has their own niche. Everyone has their own little thing that they can bring to it. And I feel like my little thing is like the science education, you know, being a teacher and all that. So yeah, I mean, there's so much. And I mean, as you know, like you've worked with so many different brands and lines and different treatments and stuff. So you kind of just have to find what's best for you and find a group that kind of supports that too.
Yeah, no, I completely agree because in this industry, it is really hard to find community. And I mean, that's why we started this podcast and started our Patreon, because it's something that we want to bring light to in the industry. And it's so nice to meet amazing women like you as well. And I mean, I'm surprised that you've only been doing this for 3 years. It sounds like you're a master 15-year esthetician. It's insane, actually.
Really?
And you're also a SkinPen Ambassador. What does that look like?
So basically with SkinPen Ambassador, it's, so obviously you go through like the trainings and all of that. And we kind of just like post cool content online. And so with every post that you do, they kind of make it like a fun game for you. So every post, they have like a series of different things that you can post. Sometimes they have something scripted, something non-scripted. But then anytime you post it, you basically submit and show like your evidence of posting, and then they'll reward you with points. And then the more points that you get like some cool swag. So like my first swag I got were like actual UGG boots. Like, Uggs? Yeah, like real UGG boots. I was like,
so cool.
I know, yeah. And then another one was like a pack of the biocellulose masks and stuff like that, which I absolutely love. So, and SkinCeuticals does something similar too, where like every module that you complete, you get a certain amount of coins and points, and then you get free product or swag and stuff.
Amazing.
So I think it's just cool because it's like, it's a fun incentive, you know, the more that like you learn about the treatment or the products, the more you learn about, or like get the name out there, you get rewarded for that. And I absolutely love that, you know?
Yeah, I'm a SkinPen girly too.
Yeah.
HydroFacial. I mean, name brand girlies, right?
Yeah. I feel like we're very
the science
similar.
Is there.
Yeah. I feel like we're very similar.
I think it's really important for sure.
Yeah.
But my last question is going to be, if you had one piece of advice to give to an esthetician, what would it be?
One piece of advice for like a new esthetician or anyone?
For a new esthetician.
Basically, like, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Like, really learn your stuff, whatever it is that you're into, whether it's an esthetician, like if you're just doing lashes or you're doing brows or you're doing skin or just doing medical stuff, like go all in. I feel like do as much as you possibly can with that. Learn as much as you possibly can with it. Get all of the knowledge. Do as much, like, how do I even say it? There's a bunch of opportunities out there. They're waiting for you. You just have to put yourself out there and really get them, because, you know, you could sit around and wait for opportunity to come knocking on the door. It's not. This is kind of one of those fields where you have to go get it yourself. And there's a lot out there. So don't be scared. Just do it.
Preach it, sister. You are so amazing. I am so happy to have you on my podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Where can people find you?
So obviously
on Instagram.
Instagram's probably like the big one. So it's at skinology.esthetics, and I'm an open book. Feel free to message me about anything. If you have any questions on anything, how do I do this? How'd you do that? I'm always here for it. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much again for being on today's podcast.
Thank you.
Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.